What it is, my Tenno, Peach and Grease here, and today I'm doing an additional video on Nightwave, the Glassmaker. Now, I wanted to clarify a few things I said in my first video, as well as correct a few things, and include a couple of items that I did not in the previous video. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is we need to have a little talk about the Sepalite resonance. Now, where do you get these? What's the best place to farm them? And, you know, the truth of the matter is, it's so random with the Sepalite resonance. Give you an example, at one point I ran like an hour-long survival and ended up with one resonant. Another time I ran a mission and got no resonance after like 30 minutes. And then I ran a mobile defense, which took me all of about 6 minutes, and I ended up with 4 Sepalite resonance. So it's all over the place. Now, from what I'm hearing at this point, basically the spawn of the Sepalite resonance is basically time locked server wide at 25 minutes. So you got to keep that in mind. But with all of those things being said, the important takeaway here is that while I do not believe that the resource boosters actually help you with the Sepalite resonance, one thing that does is your farming frame, depending on which one you prefer to run. I myself am using Necros, as you see here, and they give you a chance of getting additional Sepalite resonance. Just a chance, though. Now, I'm going to tell you where I've been farming my Sepalite resonance, and then you can kind of take your pick from there. Now, I tend to favor survival missions, and if you're not a fan of survival missions, you're probably going to have to basically run whatever missions that you prefer, and then just repeatedly run them over and over and over again, bearing in mind that 25-minute server-wide time lock. Now, the preferred locations that I like are, first of all, on Sedna, and I like to run Selkie. This is a mid-level survival mission against Grineer. It works very well, and without running a Necros or any farming frame, I ended up with 7 Sepalite resonance at one point. And then another location is on Pluto, and I like to use Palace, which is another survival mission, mid-level again, 30 to 40, and I also ended up with 7 Sepalite resonance in this location as well. But this does beg the question, if you do not have access to Pluto or Sedna, what do you do? Well, actually a buddy of mine turned me on to this, and it works pretty good, and that is going to be on Venus. More specifically, it's going to be on Malva. This is another survival, but it's lower level at levels 8 to 18, and it's against Infested, and it works pretty doggone well. About the best net that I got from this for Sepalite resonance were about 6, and that's with the farming frame with Necros that you see here. That's about the best that I've gotten out of that location. On average, I'm seeing anywhere between 2 to 4, and then most recently I actually got a run of 6. So that is a viable option if you just simply do not have access to Pluto and Sedna. Alright, now what do you do once you have your 10 Sepalite resonance? And I think that's a very good question, so let's talk about that here for a moment. Now, I am going to be talking about the evidence here, and the thing that I really want to point out is the most critical part of this is knowing your evidence. As I said in my previous video, there are 5 pieces of evidence. Now, I initially said that one of them was this glass ostron. However, he does not count as a piece of evidence. There are 5 other pieces. Now, the first time you come in here in this diorama, you can investigate this ostron that has been turned to glass, and Nora Knight will talk to you a little bit about it. But let's go through the pieces of evidence. But before we do, I need to stress this, and that is that these pieces of evidence are player specific, meaning that the evidence that I'm showing you on my screen may be different for you, and it may be in a slightly different location. So the first piece of evidence we're talking about is this Zaw at this glass ostron's feet. I have the staff, but a couple of my buddies, one said they had a dagger, and the other said they had, I think they said a sword, or was it an axe? I don't remember. I think it was a sword. But you need to remember what type of Zaw is on the ground. Because, again, this is just a guideline. You need to know which type of Zaw, because there will be a picture and you're going to have to identify which Zaw you had. The second piece of evidence is this amber star. Now, what you need to memorize on this is this emblem. You're going to notice in the box where it says Iatan I 5 of 5, there's a little box with a little emblem. Looks like an eye with a downward pointing arrow. That's the emblem you have to memorize. Again, my emblem is going to be different from your emblem, more than likely. Somebody said there was like 3 or 4 of them. One of my buddies did. I don't know if that's accurate, but just bear that in mind. Again, your star may not be setting on the stairs. It may be setting over here on these rocks or under the steps or so on and so forth. The third piece of evidence is going to be behind this glass ostron. And for me, excuse me, it was on these rocks. Yours should be in this vicinity. But what you need to know about this one is the second paragraph. What is the discussion referencing? So if you read the second paragraph, it says, now, either you get me an Orokin era tilt shifter, or this broadcast unit is as good as dead. And so are we. Tilt shifter, as you can see, it's in bold print. That's the word I need to memorize. For you, it may be different. So keep that in mind. Then we move on to the fourth piece of evidence, which is another data pad. This time we have another picture to memorize, and we have to identify who is in this picture. Now for me, it's Darvo. Now somebody, my buddy actually told me he had, I think he said Barrow, but for me it's Darvo. So you have to go by who is pictured on your data pad for the fourth piece of evidence. And finally, for the fifth piece of evidence, we have this burned notebook. What you need to know from this is who signs the letter. At the very, very bottom, you notice for me it says Havera. Again, can't stress it enough. It's Havera for me, but it may be something different for you. All right. Again, these are all player specific. Okay, so those are all 5 pieces of the evidence and what you need from each of those pieces of evidence. Now, what do you do with them now that you have all those? Okay. Once you've identified all of them, and you will have a glow around your glass ostron. When you are ready and you have your 10 cephalite resonance, you will interact with this glass ostron and it will take you into a different realm. But, gotta stress this as well. This is a timed event. You only have 60 seconds, 1 minute, that's it. You can't extend it, nothing more, nothing less. It is 60 seconds. If you fall off the platforms, you fail. You're ejected from that realm and you lose your resonance. And you have to go farm more. If you are incorrect and you make the wrong choice, you will be ejected from that realm. You will fail. You will lose your resonance. You'll have to go farm more. If you take too long and you go past that 60 seconds, again, you fail. You will be ejected from that realm and you will lose your resonance and have to go farm more. And I want to be clear here. All right, now with all that said, once you interact with this ostron, again, you have 60 seconds. It's plenty of time. I've done this a couple of times and I ended up with like 20-something seconds left over. So you've got plenty of time. Don't rush it to the point that you fall off these platforms. Take your time, verify you're making the right choice, then hop on the platform. All right, so let's jump into this and you'll see what this is all about.
Used to be a middle-aged guy, but he's been degraded.
Now, once you're in this realm, you have to wait for whoever this is, the Glassmaker, I suppose, to finish talking. Around this platform you're standing on will be smaller platforms with pictures or names. Those are going to coincide with your evidence. All right, once they pop up. Okay, for me, that's Barrow. Where is Darvo? There's Darvo. Okay, we jump on this platform here. And I have Tilt Shifter, which is here. Mine has the eye with the downward pointing arrow here. Very good. And then I had the staff, which that is a staff here. And then finally, who signed the letter was Havera for me. And I jump to this one. And now I can interact with this crystal. And there we go. And now once you read that, you can click Exit Weave. And then eventually this will remove you from the weave. This Glassmaker, as well as Nora Knight, will have a few things to say. And you can listen to that, you can read it, and learn a little bit more about it. But that, as of this moment, that is pretty much the end of the line until we get the second part, which is identified by this emblem at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So, right now, from what I can tell, we do not have the second part yet. So it's just kind of a waiting game once DE pushes that out. So that's where we are at. Alright, so hopefully that helps you out and gets you sorted and lets you know what you need to do and what you have to pay attention to. Let me know down in the comment section if you have any questions. If I can answer it, I certainly will do so. But let me know what you think. And until next time, peace and grease.